And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, welcome to the Dice Tower. Today we're taking a look at Barony. Now Barony is from Matagot, who I think makes the best quality components of any game out there. I was very excited. This has a great looking cover. The pieces in it are great. I mean, they're wooden pieces and they're a bit stark, but they look really good. The board looks beautiful laid out. I don't know why I'm telling you how good the components are looking when I can just show you. Here's the board, which is made up of random tiles placed out here, and this actually isn't the full-size board for 4 players. It'd be a little bit bigger, and the board size changes based on the number of players that are in each game. And each player is going to start with 3 cities on the board and 3 knights that are in their cities, and then one player is chosen to go first. On your turn, you have 1 action that you can take, but there are several different actions that you can take. One of your actions is add more knights to the board. Now each player has a specific number of pieces that you have here. So you can see these are all the pieces yellow has, but he still has multiple knights. So you can add 2 knights to any of your cities, or you can add 3 knights to a city that happens to be next to water. Cities can't be built in the water or in the trees, by the way. You can also move 2 different knights. Each knight can move 1 space each. There are some restrictions where they can't move. If your opponent has 2 knights in the same area, you can't move into that. Although if they have 1 knight, you can move into a spot where they have 1 knight. You also can't move into any spot that has an opponent's bastion in it. If they have 1 soldier in a mountain, you can't move into that area. And you can't move into your opponent's cities. So they're different things. If you move 2 of your knights into a spot where your opponent has 1 knight, you eliminate that knight off the board. The same thing if you move into one of your opponent's cities, or towns, I'm sorry. When you do that, your opponent has to give you 1 of these tokens that they've gotten. Now how do you get those tokens? Well, that's another action you can take. You can turn as many of your knights as you want to, who are all over the board, into either towns and or bastions. When you build them in a spot, you will get a token that matches that spot. So here's the token for Forest, which is a 3-1. Here's the token for the Pastures, which is a 4-2. Here's the tokens for the Fields, which is a 5-3. And then Mountains, which is a 2-0. Well, what do those mean? At the end of the game, the white numbers are worth points for you. But during the game itself, another action you can take is if you have 15 points worth of the yellow numbers, you can turn those in and upgrade your title. See, each player up here has a token here, and you start with 0 points, but every time you upgrade a title, you get 15 more points. You can also build a city. You can turn one of your towns into a city as long as it's in a proper space, not on a mountain. And when you build one of your last 2 cities, you go down and get 10 more points. So you can see the most points you can get is 80 by having built both your cities and going all the way across. When someone does get all the way across, whether they're on 60, 70, or 80, they get the highest title. At that point, we're going to see who becomes the king. And we're going to take your points here on the board and add in any points that you've gotten from these tiles that you may have left over. And whoever has the most points becomes the king. Hooray! Now, Barony is an abstract game, really. Yes, it's about conquering kingdoms and moving around, but it really is an abstract game. But it is one that has some cool things that you can do. Now, the board itself here, I wish they had maybe, this here tells you all the actions you can do. It's a mess of symbols, right? But they're not that hard. Once you know what you can do, there's one action I mentioned. You can basically kill one of your knights to put a knight on the outside of the board. You take it out of the game completely. You can do that if you need to get a knight somewhere quickly. But this game's all about spreading your knights out as quickly as you can, changing them into these tokens, and then spending those tokens to upgrade your nobility, right? You don't want to keep those tokens too long because people can take them from you. Now, this game has definitely a combative nature to it. You're going to be going after the other players. Now, you don't have to do that, but, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. You really do have to do that if you're going to win at any point, but you don't have to do it right away. But eventually, you're going to run out of areas where you can put these little towns, and you're going to have to take out your opponent towns so that you can get tokens from him. The thing about the combat is, it's good, and it works, right? It's pretty simple. It's just deterministic. I move in here, I take you out. But the problem with it is, it's more like it's kind of telegraphed, right? It's like, I'm going to punch you. Here comes the punch. You better not dodge it. Okay? And that's how it feels. It's like, here comes two soldiers moving together, one at a time. Well, your opponent can see that coming. Now, sometimes they can't do anything about it. But it's not like, there's no sneak attacks, there's no surprise attacks. Combat's a little bit like, I'm going to take this. What are you going to do about it? Nothing? That's what I thought. So, yeah. Now, while combat may move a little slowly like that, the game itself moves pretty quickly. You get an action. Boom, 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 boom. Unless, of course, you play one of those people who takes a long time. But for the most part, this game is really snappy, moves fast, and I like it. I mean, I'm like, okay, I'm going to add knights. I'm going to add more knights. I'm going to move some knights. I'm going to move some knights. Now I'm going to change my knights to buildings. Now I'm going to go over here. Now I'm going to upgrade this. And there's really no luck in the game at all, other than the initial setup. There's zero luck. So it's kind of a deterministic style game, and it's straight up strategy and tactics, and I like that. And it plays very differently with 2, 3, or 4 players. And so you're moving around, conquering other person's towns, and trying to be the first one to win. Games are not long at all. I like that, and it's fast. Now, is it a great game? No. I liked it. It was fun and entertaining, but I didn't think there was anything really that super special about it. It looks great, of course. Matagot does that, and it plays quickly, and I like that. But in reality, I'm just moving pieces around and doing things, and I wonder if I'll still want to play this in a couple years or not. But for now, I think it's a pretty solid game, and it plays very quickly, and that is Barony. Dice Tower Judgment, approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Fecha a porta!